Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the On-Screen podcast. This is the official podcast of the TotalScreen.com. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about Lock and Key Season 2. We also got some news to talk about, some other stuff that I've been watching, and we got some stuff to look forward to on the horizon to bring up as well. Let's kick things off with our first segment, On Beat. On Beat is our segment where we talk about the latest news in the past week. We're going to kick things off. Squid Game Season 2, now officially confirmed by series creator Hwang Dong-hyuk.
Yep, I mean, in the least surprising news of the world, like from what I saw, he said that he still needs to come up with the concept for Season 2, and so he needs to work on that. So that just tells me that he wasn't planning on Season 2 and until Netflix rolled up to his door with a dump truck full of money and said, do this.
I saw him say that he had it in his head. He just didn't have it out on paper yet.
Okay. Well,
so he has kind of pride, I guess, just the vague concept of it.
It's going to be a while before Season 2 happens, but it is happening.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I don't think they can get away with just doing like a repeat of like the season, just with new people and new games, because
this kind of thing is tricky. They did it with Battle Royale. You know, it was a really famous like death game movie and book. I prefer the book greatly to the movie, but they did a follow-up movie not based on any original source material or anything, and it was just kind of weird and didn't really make that much sense.
Right, but I feel like they would have to go more in depth into the Squid Game organization and the main character, his attempts to dismantle it, you know, rather than like throw him in the middle of the games again. Well, I mean, this is the problem they have, right? Again, if you just do the same thing a second time in a row, it gets stale really fast.
Yeah, you have to do a twist on it. I think the one franchise that kind of did like a number of movies and did it kind of somewhat right was like Hunger Games. But Hunger Games had like a bigger kind of mythos behind the scenes of what was happening.
Yeah.
You know, whereas this is very much like, oh, this was started by this old rich guy because him and his old rich guy friends were bored and stuff. But that old rich guy is like dead now. We already know who he is. We already know why he did it. It's like, so where are we going from here? You know, it's going to follow the other old rich guys, the ones that nobody liked from the show.
Yeah, right.
But that's Squid Game Season 2. I mean, got to keep a bit of an open mind, though. You know, it is the same. The guy who created the original.
I have an open mind. I mean, I'll judge it when I see it. I'm just saying, like, there has to be a twist to it. It can't be just the same thing. Like, they can't just do, oh, here's brand new games. And then it's like, okay. Because, like, the shock value is gone. You know what to expect now from this. I mean, what made Squid Game for me, what lived and died on, was just the strength of its characters. I felt like the characters were really strong and they did a good job of making you care about them. And they did a good job of making them like unique and relatable and everything. That's probably going to be the hardest thing because they're going to have to do that again.
Yeah.
And so that's another challenge.
They're just going to bring back all of the old characters that died, but they're all going to have to care.
Yeah.
Our next piece of news is One Piece. The live-action Netflix adaptation has set its main cast. Now, normally, if I was covering a story like this, I would like list off all the people that have been cast, but they're basically all unknowns.
Yeah, they're all unknowns. The only one I recognized was Emily Rudd, and that's just because I had just watched Fear Street. She was in part 2 of that. She was like one of the leads in Fear Street Part 2.
Yeah. The guy who's playing Zorro was in like the Kenshin movies that were fairly popular, but even so, those are like Japanese subtitled movies. So when I say fairly popular, I mean like that's kind of loose, you know? That's a small number of people that will have seen that. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Casting looks pretty good from what I've seen. We were talking before the podcast that
I don't have any issues with the casting, but I'm also not really like a big One Piece fan. So like, you know, I'm not the one to sit there and go, oh, you know, that doesn't resemble that character that well. Cause like, I don't know. I mean, it looks fine. The one thing or two cast members that kind of throw me a little bit is that people who've watched the anime or read the manga know like Zoro's very like kind of gruff and like masculine, and Sanji is very much like a pretty boy. And it seems like they kind of flip those. Like the actor who's playing Zoro is very much like a pretty boy, and the actor playing Sanji looks like pretty masculine and tough, you know? So it's like they're kind of like flip those for some reason. So I don't know if that's like an intentional thing or if, you know, this is just what they look like in their headshots and they might look completely different or act completely differently in the actual show. According to IMDb, it looks like the first season is 10 episodes.
Yeah. I always thought One Piece would be like a cool series, but I always felt that like in a very like loose way. Like if they didn't try to be too close to the anime or manga, like if they just tried to do like almost like a superhero, like Powers-esque kind of version of a pirate story. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like pirates, but they're like mythological and larger than life kind of thing.
Oh yeah. That's really cool.
I always thought that was really cool. I don't know about One Piece itself, like every idiosyncrasy of One Piece itself translating to live action. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to feel, but just the idea of like kind of like these larger than life powered up characters that are like pirates and stuff. Always thought that would be like a really cool concept to see in live action, but I wonder how faithful they're going to be. I honestly think it's better if they're a little bit not so faithful. It's one of those things I don't know if it translates that directly, but we'll see.
It's like Monkey's got to have his stretchy arms. I mean, people are going to riot if they don't see that.
Yeah, but God, that could look really weird on.
That could look really strange in live action.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you know. It's like maybe the looser adaptation would be the better choice, but I'm not sure. Like, I'll have to see like what they're going with when we actually see anything from this. Our next story is Stranger Things. They released a new trailer for season 4. This is the California trailer that focuses mostly on Eleven, a little bit on Will. It's a little bit on Will as well because, you know, the Byers family is in California now.
Yeah. Well, remember, there's also going to be the plot, you know, the stuff in Russia, you know, with...
but this mainly focused on the California side of things.
Yeah, this trailer, because, well, the first trailer, we saw the stuff with the old house.
Yeah, the ghost house.
The ghost house back in Hawkins. We saw that. That was the first trailer. This is trailer in California because, you know, remember at the end of the last season, Will's family moved away from Hawkins, you know, and this is where they moved to, presumably.
The very first tease we got was actually the Russia one, but it was just like a scene where it showed Hopper working in like Siberia or something in like a Russian prison camp thing or something. Yeah, so we're getting all these kind of different sides of it. We just need to actually see how it all comes together next summer. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Big fan of Stranger Things.
That's been like what, 3 years?
It's been like 3 years. Yeah, I know, it's been a while. And I don't care if that makes me basic. It's a fun show.
Yeah. This season's about the kids going on welfare.
Yeah.
You know, not welfare, senior disabilities.
Senior disabilities, yeah.
They're joining ARP. But that's Stranger Things. Our next story is Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings series. He created his own visual effects company, very similar to the way that George Lucas did with Industrial Light and Magic.
Weta. And they did the effects for Lord of the Rings and King Kong, and
they branched out. They've done stuff for other people now too.
Yeah,
they did Endgame, like for Marvel. So they've done a bunch of stuff.
That only makes sense. You know, George Lucas's ILM,
Avatar too. Yeah,
ILM did like a bunch of stuff for other movies too.
Not just started out as like his private company and then branched out into being just an effects company that just happened to be owned by him. Well, now Peter Jackson is selling not Weta Digital as a whole, but they have a division that develops technology technologies that are used for like, doing this stuff. Like, for example, if you watched any of the special features that were on like the Lord of the Rings DVD sets when those came out for like Fellowship of the Ring and stuff, they talked about that they had made their own software called Massive that was kind of like, what's that PC game? Is it Total War or whatever, where you have like the simulation game where you set up the war or whatever? Kind of like that, but from like a visual effects
I thought they
standpoint.
sold it to Unity.
No. I'm talking about the technology that they developed.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
So they developed this technology. It was called Massive. And basically what it did is like, instead of hand animating all of these CG characters, they basically used something similar to like a video game engine. And they would program like, yeah, okay, your goal is over here, go attack. And all the characters would go charging after. And they used that to make the special effects when you'd see like the massive army scenes in like Lord of the Rings. So like that's an example, like that technology was created by this tech division within Weta. And Peter Jackson has now sold that tech division to Unity, who you probably know mostly as a company that puts out tools for like game development. Unity is making a push towards cloud-based service tools. So basically like it's so that you pay, instead of like buying the software and using it on your own computer, you run it off of servers at Unity's own location and you do it like a cloud service, just like you'd be streaming Netflix or Stadia or something, except you're like, rendering your CG on it. And so Unity has been wanting to do something along those lines, and now they've bought Weta Digital's tech, and so those tools are all going to be coming to that platform. And I'm guessing that means they're also going to be expanding not just from video games, but towards like visual effects applications as well. But that's kind of a big thing. Weta has some really cool tools that they built, not just like Massive for Lord of the Rings, but they built quite a few different tool sets for like Avengers Endgame, which they worked on. They created a bunch of tools for that, which is part of why that looked so amazing, like in its climactic sequence. But yeah, sold for $1.625 billion. That's big news.
Yeah, it is.
Next up, Eternals has underperformed at the box office. I say underperformed. It still did okay. It just didn't do as well as it was expected.
Still did well. It didn't do as well as expected. It is.
Yeah.
So
71 million.
So there definitely is some disappointment to go with Eternals. So it is so far the lowest grossing opening weekend of any film Marvel Studios released this year, which, they've released 2 already and they're set to release another one with Sony next month that is sure to do bigger numbers. I'd be shocked if it didn't. And also, like other metrics, Eternals came out. It's not a hit with the critics. Critics panned it. Is become the first Marvel Studios film to receive a rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the lowest critics rating of a Marvel film. And it's got the lowest cinema score now, which is an audience rating the cinema score does by pulling audiences coming out of movies at various theaters. So far, it's got the lowest cinema score now, too, of any film Marvel Studios released.
Which, by the way, is also not that bad. It's bad by comparison.
Yeah, it's bad by comparison. Yeah, you're like I'm saying, you don't have to get defensive. It's just I'm comparing to other Marvel films, not like all the films ever released.
Like it's still got a B. That was like it's low. That's the lowest Marvel score is a B.
Right. People still love them some Marvel. It's not like they don't love Marvel. It didn't get an F.
Think of it like the least popular episode of Breaking Bad versus like the least popular episode of 2.5 Men or something.
So, there's some silver linings here. It did, Eternals did really well with the overseas take.
161.7 million global.
Yes.
So far, first weekend.
So they did really well with the overseas. So this is in no way like the end. This is not the end of Marvel Studios. This is not even the end of this franchise, really. This is just, I could easily see an Eternals 2 being greenlit. I could easily see these characters show up in other Marvel projects. It didn't do as well as Marvel hoped, but that happens. They've released, 25, 26 films or whatever.
One of them's got to be the worst.
one of them's, they've all been hits. So 1 out of 26 or so is not bad. That's a better record than most companies.
And it's not a flop either. It's just not as good comparatively.
Right.
It still did well by like any other movie standards. It would be a good turnout.
Right.
It's just not up to like Marvel.
I think Warner Brothers would be perfectly happy with this performance. Like it's just like Marvel films have been on just that next level that it makes it a disappointment for a Marvel film.
Yeah.
So that's just the news there.
Yeah. I have more to say about Eternals, but I'll be doing that in a different segment after, because that's more about the content of the movie than any news about it.
Also, it's pretty long too. It's like, what is it, like over 2 hours?
I think so.
So I don't know if like that has anything to do with.
Honestly, this is a little preview of my little topic. It should have been actually longer.
Okay, wow. I don't think I agree with that because I hate super long movies. But, yeah.
Well, consider that it has 10 lead characters that are brand new.
Yeah, true.
That you have not gotten a single chance to meet yet. So that's why. Should have probably been longer. Like, I actually saw complaints saying it should have been a Disney Plus series, and I kind of agree with that. That they maybe should have done a Disney Plus series first and then maybe a movie later.
Right.
So and have more time to introduce all the characters and stuff. But I'll get into that later in a different segment. Our next story is also related to Disney Plus and Marvel, and that is that Disney Plus is going to be releasing 13 Marvel movies in the IMAX expanded aspect ratio. This is for ratio heads. This is 1.9 to 1. That's slightly wider than like high definition televisions, which are 16 by 9. 1.9 to 1 is just a little bit wider, which means when you watch a current Marvel movie on like an HD TV, there's a pretty heavy like letterbox on the top and bottom, black bars, and this is going to be like almost filling up the whole screen rather than, being so narrow. That's what this aspect ratio is. Regular IMAX stuff, like for instance, when it was a big joke when they did the Zack Snyder version of the Justice League and they wanted it in the IMAX format. So it was in 4:3, which is like the old TV format, but it's also what IMAX uses. It's like a really tall format. It's not that. And it's not the regular Marvel format that all the other MCU movies are shot in is 2.39 to 1. So you can tell like 1.9 to 1 versus 2.39 to 1. That tells you it's quite a bit taller. But yeah, I mean, some of the movies that are being turned over, I'm not going to name them all, but Shang-Chi, the original Iron Man, both of the Guardians movies, Civil War and Endgame.
I'm looking to watching Shang-Chi for the first time in this new format. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah. So this isn't like them cropping it down either to like make it fit better onto an HDTV. This is like, because actually you're seeing more picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's interesting. Disney Plus is also just delayed. Ms. Marvel, the series, was supposed to come out, I believe, in spring 2022.
Yeah, not surprised. A lot of stuff on the movie side got pushed back, so I'm not surprised that some of the series are being pushed back too.
Yeah, so it's pushed back to fall 2022.
It always seems natural with what's going on,
I think this is almost, since they showed footage of this series quite a while ago, I'm guessing that this probably has more to do with scheduling based on the Marvel's movie that's going to focus on that this character is going to be in and stuff, and that they probably don't want that big of a gap.
That could be it. Or it could be to position it closer to the release of that movie.
Yeah, or just, to adjust their own scheduling.
I mean, there's multiple reasons for this, scheduling reasons or production issues maybe, or just business reasons, like trying to put it in a slot that makes the most sense business-wise too. Yeah.
It's just countless reasons it could be. And it's probably not just one of those either. It's probably like multiple factors that play a part.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Our next story, also Marvel related. All the remaining ones are Marvel related. Henry Cavill, who played Superman, of course, in the DCEU movies.
Did you see, I know what you're about to say, but did you see the reports on Twitter today where Henry Cavill said he wants to go back to being Superman?
Yeah, he's always kind of stuck to that position, though. Right. I don't think that they're really interested in pursuing that anymore, though.
No, which is a shame, because they 100% should.
I don't think Warner really knows what they're doing with the DCEU, and I've said that for a long time.
That's fine. Like, Henry Cavill has his eyes on another role.
Yes, Henry Cavill is now rumored to be interested in indirect negotiations to play Captain Britain in the MCU, not in any specific project, probably not a regular Captain Britain movie. One thing I saw pointed out is that we know Blade's coming, we know Black Knight's coming, and Captain Britain was on a team with both of those two. He was on
Black Knight would probably be the most logical vector to introduce Captain Britain through.
Yeah, but there was a specific, there was a superhero team that included Blade, Black Knight, and Captain Britain. And I think somebody else too. So some people are saying that they think that's they're going to end up doing. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with that. I mean, Henry Cavill's great. Love to see him in pretty much anything.
Right.
One last casting news from Marvel, and that is that Gael Garcia Bernal, he played Che Guevara in the Motorcycle Diaries. He was in Itamama Tembian. He's a fairly big actor. He's going to be starring in the MCU Halloween special for Disney Plus. We don't really know what this is yet. The rumor is that it's going to be Werewolf by Night.
It's Werewolf by Night. Yeah,
this is almost certainly going to be Werewolf by Night.
Almost certainly. This was leaked a little while back by a leaker who kind of like broke that Marvel was developing a Werewolf by Night project, and this seems to be that project.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I'm looking forward to Marvel getting more into supernatural, parts of the MCU now. Like, I can't wait for Blade to come out. Yeah, Moon Knight. I can't wait for Moon Knight, Blade, Werewolf. Bring it on. Bring on all the supernatural stuff. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
And that's it for our On Beat section. Next up, we have On Tap.
What we've been watching. What we've been playing. What's on tap?
On Tap is a section where we talk about what we've been watching, but not with spoilers. We have a separate section for that. But we're going to start things off. I'm going to be talking about Big Mouth. So Big Mouth had, I think it's its 5th season that just came out. I think it's probably its best season yet. For anybody who hasn't seen Big Mouth, it's an animated show. It's kind of like adult orientated, meaning, it's a little bit too mature for little kids to be watching.
Don't let your 5-year-old watch it.
Yeah. But I mean, the central characters in Big Mouth are kids. They're like basically kids going through puberty. And the project is basically, it's about how awkward puberty is. That's what it's about. How it fucks up everything, basically, in your life when it happens. And season 5 got really inventive. They experimented with different animation styles. They went like really meta in the season finale in like a really cool way. It's just been really inventive and clever, like in the last couple seasons in particular, but really in this season, I remember when I watched the last season, it almost felt like that was the end of the series. Like there wasn't really anywhere logically for them to go. And then they just found new places to go and interesting ways to do it. So yeah, it's really cool. If you are like it all, like, adult animated stuff like Family Guy or something like that, check out Big Mouth. It's a really good show and its new season is great. And then I also saw Eternals, which we talked about a little bit in our news segment. And I'm not going to go say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But what I did say just earlier, and I'll elaborate on, is that like maybe the movie should have been longer. And the reason why is because the movie basically introduces you to 10 brand new characters. And those are just the Eternals. There's other characters that they're connected to too. So this isn't just like, a few main characters and some other secondary characters. These are all like lead cast members. And there's like 10 brand new ones. And then you also have the entire concept of the Eternals, which is yet to be
And then
addressed.
you have like the Celestials, which they're connected to like pretty directly.
All the mythology that's connected to that, everything. And they're doing it in a 2-hour movie. So there's been a lot, like Will was talking about when we were going over the news about it, it didn't do as well as it's the worst performing Marvel movie so far. It's also didn't do well as far as like scores and stuff. There were some people saying like, oh, this is the first like Marvel flop. It's a mess. People like were going off on it. It's not. It's fine.
It's critically a flop. I mean, other than that,
from my own taste, from watching it, what I would say is it falls somewhere in the middle. It's definitely not in the top tiers with like, the End Games and Winter Soldiers and like the first Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not in that tier at all, but it's also quite a bit better than like Thor: The Dark World or Iron Man 2 or
Thor: The Dark World's a masterpiece. You shut your mouth. I mean, watching the trailers and the promotional material, that's kind of the feeling I got. That this was going to be, I was going to watch this and I was probably going to think it was mid because that's just what it looked like. I didn't have any particular like hype for this movie like I usually do for Marvel films. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird. I don't know if that's me because like I don't know much about the Eternals. They're not, a property I followed very closely when I followed comics.
And you just despise Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I just despise, no. I love Jack. I love good old Jack Kirby. Gave us the Fantastic Four. No, it's just I didn't really have familiarity with these characters. And then like the trailers themselves, I don't think the trailers did any favors. It looked kind of boring. It was like mostly like, the actors, they have like scenes of them talking and they'd be quipping jokes. And then they're like fighting these really generic looking monsters, like with their superpowers. And it was kind of like, you didn't really get a sense of, like what the overarching story was, other than like, here's these like super powerful, like godlike beings and they're fighting deviants, but the deviants look like generic JRPG monsters or some crap. And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. So what I'll say in reaction to all of that is that you brought up a key point, which is that they didn't really show like what else was going on in the story. And that's what the case is. Yeah. It's not that there isn't like more story or better antagonist or anything like that. It's just that they didn't show that in the trailers. And it's also that there's just, like I said, this should have been longer, or it should have perhaps been a Disney Plus series, because there's too many characters and most of the movie is them like trying to find each other, basically. It's like they've spread out all across the world and they're like basically trying to like reunite, basically. And that's the majority of the movie, is then just like, okay, well now let's find this guy. Okay, well now let's find this guy. And when they do that, it's like, okay, now we found this person. Now we're seeing like where their life is at now. And we have to now convince them to join us in this thing that they've kind of like given up on and they don't really even care about anymore. And you have to find a reason to get them invested in it, that kind of thing. That's most of what the movie is. So it's, like there's not a lot of action. There's a pretty good action sequence kind of early on. And then there's some good stuff at the very end. Other than that, there's not a lot of action sequences. Most of it's just them traveling around and trying to figure out a solution to a big problem. And it is a very big problem that ends up happening. And they're trying to figure out a solution to that. And it's actually quite good. But again, it's hard because like you want to like really care about these characters, but a lot of them, it's like, I don't remember who this character is. Like, what's this character's name again? Like, oh, I don't really understand their motivation because they've had about 2 minutes of screen time.
Right.
That's the biggest problem with this movie, is just it's too big and there's not enough time to really get invested properly into all of the characters. But it's still a decent movie. I mean, I don't think there's anything in the movie that's bad. It's just that a lot of it's rushed, That's what I'll say about Eternals without spoiling it, because there's a lot I want to say, but it would spoil certain details about it.
We could probably have a bigger discussion when the movie hits Disney Plus. I have a chance to watch it.
Yeah, I'm counting on that and kind of getting like a more concrete position on it then when we can talk about kind of the bigger details of it. I will say that it brings back the significant post-credit scenes.
Oh yeah, no, I know about that. Yeah, I saw like there's a mid-roll credits and then there's a post-credit scene, which I've actually had spoiled for me. I don't really care about the spoil. I don't know if it's like the mid-roll. I know the post-credits was spoiled for me. I don't really care about it.
I know a lot of it.
It's not like a super big deal.
Recently, the Marvel post-credit scenes have either been like just quick off jokes or like they're just straight up a scene from another movie that's coming up,
Yeah, I won't say it here because this isn't full spoilers, but yeah.
This is more like true looking forward at MCU stuff, kind of,
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit more interesting, especially with context from the movie where you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see where they're going with this and how this could connect possibly to other things. But that's all I'm going to say about Eternals. We're going to move on now to our next segment, which is On the Horizon. On the Horizons, where we talk about what's coming up in the next week and a half or so. Basically everything coming up between now and November 19th. So starting on Saturday, November 13th, Blade Runner Black Lotus starts on Adult Swim. This is the first of the cyberpunk animated stuff, with the actual cyberpunk branded one supposed to be coming next year from one of the big anime studios. I don't remember who. But yeah, so that's coming up on Adult Swim. If you like Blade Runner, there you go.
Blade Runner.
The next up, I kind of had no idea this existed.
Oh, this is the horror movie. Yeah, the what?
No, not a horror movie.
Oh, I saw Bruce Campbell, and I thought because
he's got one of those too. But
there's a Bruce Campbell like Black Friday horror movie coming out too.
No, this isn't Black Friday.
Christmas movie, and I'm like, nope, I'm way off.
Yeah, this kind of surprised me. I had no idea this existed, and I had no idea I would ever talk about a Hallmark Christmas movie. But there's one reason and one reason alone that I am, and that's Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
so
Christmas
it's
I saw.
called One December Night. It's coming on Saturday, November 13th. Bruce Campbell's playing like a retired like rock star. And basically like him and
Bruce
his
Campbell
partner
is playing a retired demon slayer who falls in love on Christmas.
His partner that he did music with, I guess, like left, and they're somehow being reunited, and it's a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Oh, like I said, Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell's the only reason
Hallmark
I'm even
Christmas
mentioning
movie,
this.
Okay.
Next up is Marvel's Hit Monkey. That's coming Wednesday, November 17th to Hulu. I thought that MODOK was kind of like the last of those projects, but I guess Hit Monkey is still happening.
I think Hit Monkey was also greenlit, so Hit Monkey is the last of the projects.
This is the last before they committed to all the stuff being like Disney Plus directly.
So once this is like inevitably canceled, then
basically this is doomed to be canceled. But in the meantime, it actually looks pretty fun. It does. It's a Marvel show about a hitman that's a monkey.
Exactly. How could go wrong?
Yeah, and I think it's Jason Sudeikis doing one of the voices. So
yes, it is.
So good times. On the same day as that, actually, also on Wednesday, November 17th, Tiger King 2, Electric Boogaloo.
A serious question. Does anybody still care? Does anybody still care about Tiger King? Like
Tiger King 2 was the show of the summer last year.
Yeah, but I feel like it had its moment, and its moment is gone.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see not even what the show is like, but what reaction to the show is like.
Yeah, exactly.
More important than that, though, on Thursday, November 18th on Peacock, Psych 3, This Is Gus.
That's going to be good. Always love Psych.
Yeah,
love
anything
Gus.
Psych related is great.
Yeah, this is good. I saw the trailer. I believe we talked about the trailer like a couple episodes ago, and it looks fantastic. What can you say?
Yep, it's Psych. If you know Psych, you know Psych. And then on that same day, Thursday, November 18th on Netflix, The Sex Lives of College Girls comes out. I had something about that where I knew what it was, but I don't remember any of it. So
okay, well, we can just move on then.
We'll move on.
Because I don't know anything about that either.
To another thing that's coming on Thursday, November 18th, this time on Paramount Plus, and that is Star Trek Discovery, which is returning. I know a few people that might listen to this podcast that are big Trekkies, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go. More Star Trek.
Then on Friday, November 19th, the first of the big live-action Netflix TV series adaptations.
Netflix is banking a lot on this.
Yeah.
They put a lot of promotion into this.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, this is going to be big. I'm going to be watching it. We're judging it.
This is one of those things that could end up being great, or it could end up being like disastrous.
Yeah, it could be miserable, or it could be great. I actually think it's going to end up somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Realistically, yeah. Also on Friday, November 19th on Hulu, The Great returns for its second season. Any of you who hasn't watched this, it is a hilarious show. It's about Catherine the Great. It takes place in Russia. It's about, the Russian monarchy and stuff, but it's like really funny.
That hilarious Russian monarchy.
Well, the guy that plays the monarch of Russia is Nicholas Hoult. It's Beast from the more recent X-Men movies,
You say that like that guy's supposed to be a comedian.
He is, and other stuff. He's really funny. He's always like overly cheerful, but he's like kind of sociopathic, but then he's like a really cheerful sociopath. And he's always saying huzzah and like doing these little things just to give him little brief moments of pleasure that end up like fucking over everybody in his radius, it's a really entertaining show. Also Friday, November 19th, The Wheel of Time comes to Amazon Prime.
This is big for Amazon.
If you like fantasy, this is the next big thing.
This is Amazon's one of Amazon's big gambles.
Yeah, this and Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
but yeah, I mean,
we're saying like Netflix is betting big on Cowboy Bebop, while Amazon's betting big on this.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And they're going head to head. It looks like
this is one of the biggest fantasy franchises of all time being adapted. It's
those
huge
two
deal.
Shows from Netflix and Amazon are premiering on the same day, so they're going head to head.
Yeah, definitely check that out. You're going to have a lot of stuff to binge coming this next Friday. Also on Friday, November 19th, I think it's going to be holding you back from watching Cowboy Bebop and The Wheel real
Might
time.
Might be.
Is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Yeah, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
What did
Yeah,
I
I'm
say,
going to be
brilliant?
playing that. I'll be playing that. Basically, it's looking like it's going to be pretty much just a graphical upgrade of Diamond and Pearl.
It kind of makes me think of what was the Zelda game, the 2D Zelda that was remade on Switch, Link's Awakening. It looks like that to me, like where it's it's the same perspective, it's the same mechanics, but it's like a 3D graphics, but in a 2D perspective kind of.
Yeah, it looks similar to that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So yeah, if you're big in Pokemon, expect pretty much all Nintendo video game news sites and podcasts and stuff to be talking about nothing but that for the next month.
It's the last big Nintendo game this year, so yeah.
And then on that same day in movie theaters, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
19th is a busy day.
Oh yeah,
that's a big time busy day.
we have 5 things on our list for On the Horizon for that, and we cherry pick.
Yeah, we cherry pick.
Yeah, that's big. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I should probably have discussion for that the next week after that to talk about. Not next week podcast, it won't be out yet, but the week after that. Yeah, but that's On the Horizon. And now we're going to move on to our final segment of our show, full spoilers. Full spoilers is where we talk about stuff like we do in On Tap, but we talk about it in full spoilers. And we talk about bigger things. We do full discussions on episodes and stuff. This time we're discussing a full season, that season being Lock and Key Season 2. I talked to you, I think you ended up falling into the same camp as I did, which is that you were like super psyched about it coming back. But then after watching the first couple episodes, you realized, oh, this is everything I didn't like about the show. That's right.
Yeah. Funny enough, like, for the first season started off slow again. I attributed that to growing pains of like a new series, which is fine. But then this season comes out, premieres, and it's doing the exact same thing. Like, it's the exact same growing pains. I'm like, we shouldn't be doing this in season 2. Like, this should not be happening.
The realization I came to is that like I had forgotten how stupid the characters are.
It's funny because like it follows the same pattern the first season does, where like it's really slow to start. And I had a hard time getting through like the first 3 or 4 episodes. And then like once you get over that hump, the plot kicks in to overdrive and it gets really interesting. To play like I binged the last 3 episodes, but the first half of the season was just like so difficult for me to like watch because like, yeah, the characters acted dumb and also
absurdly stupid.
The plot was really slow to get moving. Like, holy cow. Like the first 4 episodes. Okay, so you got the kids and they're totally oblivious that anything is wrong. And so
despite all signs that
something's wrong, they're completely oblivious that anything's wrong. And so to try and make like their side of things interesting while they're oblivious, like they try to do stuff like with them trying to help Duncan and like Tyler's girlfriend Jackie, like with their memories, like that becomes the focus because there's literally nothing else for them to focus on because they think there's no threat. And then meanwhile, you do have the actual threat. You do have Dodge or Gabe, but all Dodge is doing is plotting like the whole time.
Practically like a Scooby-Doo villain at this point.
Yeah, he's practically like Scooby-Doo, but it's just scenes of him and this new character, not a new character, Eden, who is now like a demon because at the end of the season, she got hit with the demon bullet. Mm-hmm. She's now a demon. So it's just Dodge and Eden plotting against the Key House kids while they're oblivious. And this goes on for like 4 episodes until like Kinsey finally figures it out and then the plot starts actually moving.
Yeah. There's a few storylines going on here. There's the youngest kid, Bodhi, and his new friend. There's the mother and her new presumed love interest. There's the 2 older kids and all the people connected to them.
Yes.
There's the, Scooby-Doo villains of Gabe and Eden. And then there's these flashbacks that we also get about kind of the origins of Key House.
Flashbacks is a strong word. We get one flashback.
No, there's a few at the beginning of there's like 3 episodes that begin with a flashback.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
And then there's one episode that's a lot more flashbacks. But
yeah, it's just, I enjoyed it. I'll give it a B, but there was just some things like I didn't like about it. Like Eden, totally pointless. No, 100%. What use was she? Like,
yeah,
like Dodge kept telling her that he didn't have like a use for that he could kill her at any time. And then didn't care. And then didn't, just kept her around. And what did she really do for Dodge? Fuck all. There was like one scene where he sent her to like get the music box so he could like,
and she lost the anywhere key.
yeah. So he can make Scott fight him, you know, like and ruin Scott's relationship, you know.
Because for some reason now, Gabe or Dodge, you know, as Gabe is for some reason.
Well, Dodge is Gabe.
Kinsey.
Gabe is like a made up persona Dodge created.
Yeah,
you know?
But as Gabe is for some reason in love with Kinsey,
which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
that Dodge is suddenly in love with Kinsey. That wasn't a thing last season. Gabe wasn't a real person, like to begin with. So I'm struggling to make sense. Like the only thing I could think of is like, you know, the human soul, which is Lucas. Like Lucas fell in love with Kinsey, but I think that would be a stupid.
We get Lucas back at the end and he's not.
Yeah.
Like it's
So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like plot purposes because like
just there to be there.
It's there to like try to like explain the plot because like, okay, so basically Dodge's entire plan this season is Dodge is going to make his own key from scratch because he learned he could do this somehow. It's not explained how he figured this out.
He would know it because he has all of Lucas's memories.
He would know it, but surprisingly, like he never thought to do this in season 1. This was not a goal in season 1.
Yeah.
And also like he doesn't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay.
Which he should at least know the details, if not the ultra specifics or the, you know, the context that it has to be a lock or any of those details. He should at least know the specifics about the blood and things like that because he was fucking there.
Right. So like if he had that knowledge, how come he doesn't know the details?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a big plot hole.
This series should just be called Lock and Plot Holes.
Lock and Plot Holes. And so basically what ends up happening is Dodge finds out that only a lock can make keys. So basically, like the only lock alive that knows how to make the keys is Duncan, but Duncan's memories are messed up. So he tries to get himself involved in the search for the memory key, and they manage to restore Duncan's memories with the memory key. And then like from there on, Dodge is trying to find an in to kidnap Duncan and make Duncan make him a key, you know, the key he wants.
It's dumb too. It's like, what's his whole plan is to turn a bunch of people into demons so he can gain power for himself, and he clearly shows that he has contempt for other demons. So like, what's the point? Like, why wouldn't he just use the keys he already has to advance himself? Like, you could use that anywhere key and the identity key, and you could basically take over the world with those two keys.
Yeah, I don't understand this demon key stuff. Like, it's funny too, because like he only turns like a handful of people in the town into demons, and then there's like one point where, you know, like Eden confronts him, you know, and he's having a meeting with his like demons he just created, and Eden confronts him and she says, oh, this is like all you have, you know, you could have turned like half the town by now. And he's like, oh no, I'm being like really selective with who gets to be a demon. It's like, what? What is this plan? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, it's so stupid. There's so many like missed opportunities from like what he should have been able to do that where it's just like for plot convenience. It's like, I could, you know, get the locks in their sleep and turn like their mother and then turn them and do all this stuff.
Yeah, but no, he doesn't.
But instead, I'm just going to take my time.
He tells Kinsey he's going to kill her mother. He has no interest in turning her. And also, he wants Kinsey to become a demon, but he wants her to accept it willingly. Because he's in love with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
But if she turns her into a demon, she's not going to be her anymore anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like the whole memory thing, like I like that they freed Aaron Boss from her head. That was nice. But then she runs off from Duncan without even like telling him what she's doing. And she tries to confront Dodge by herself with like
the dumbest way possible.
In the dumbest way possible. Like she uses like the chain key on Dodge, but it's like she didn't have the anywhere key or anything. So what was she going to do? Just like drag drag him from a hedge maze back to the well, like however like distance that is. Like I don't understand that plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of it made sense.
Yeah.
The thing with Lock and Key is that we forgot how dumb the characters were. We forgot how contrived the plot was. And the plot's worse this season than it was in the first season.
It was because like that, because in the first season, Dodge had like a reasonable plan. Dodge's plan was to open the black door and let all the demons through.
Yeah. Or just in the initial, just to get free from the fucking well.
Yeah, to get free from wells. Our ultimate goal was to open.
And get the keys. So for
open
she could use for power. And
our ultimate goal was to open the black door and let all the demons in. That's not even a goal anymore. Dodge doesn't even give a shit about that, apparently.
There's other weird things too, like the door is opened because of a cave-in, even though it's sealed with a magic lock.
That doesn't make sense.
So I guess they didn't need the key the whole time. She could have just put some dynamite in the cave and had solved the issue.
And the door's open, but it only like brings Ellie Whedon back, so like no other demons.
And then she just lightly presses it shut and everything's fine.
Yeah, no other demons got through apparently, just Ellie Whedon.
Yeah.
So that is a very fortunate coincidence.
Yeah, it's just so much dumb stuff. But what makes Lock and Key still watchable, despite all of this, is that it has one of the coolest magic systems.
It does. The key system is really awesome. One of my favorite things about the show is seeing like the discovery of new keys and then learning what those keys do.
Yeah, or just finding new applications for some of the keys. I love the head key. That's the coolest key in my opinion. It's so versatile. And honestly,
like the show does have like an insidious way of sucking you in, even when it's so stupid. Like I still wanted to see how they defeated Dodge at the end of this, which was like Tyler created his own key. He created the alpha key. This was actually pretty cool because since Dodge had the demon key, which again, I want to point out, Dodge had to have Duncan make the key for him. And the whole thing about making the key is like the key forger, who has to be a lock, has to forge it with their intention. He asked Dodge, okay, so what's your intention for this key? Duncan could have did anything with that key, and he just did it straight with what Dodge wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? Why not sabotage it in some way?
I guess at that point you could make the case for he would have tested it out, and then if it didn't work as he intended it to,
well, I would have did something like where, okay, the key does turn people into demons, but they only last for like 2 hours before they collapse or they stop being demons or whatever. So like he would have tested it out and it would have worked, but just long enough, then he'd be screwed again. So, I mean, I don't know. You gotta think about that stuff. You gotta be clever.
If your intention goes into it, you need to be specific.
Exactly. Duncan, man. But it's really cool because like Tyler makes his own key. Tyler kind of figures out, and this was like one of the scenes with like one of the kids actually being clever, because Tyler like reasons like, okay, if there's a key that locks a demon to a human soul, then he can make an opposite key that unlocks the demon from the soul. You know?
He didn't really think it all out either, though.
Yeah, well, it becomes tragic. I think it's really cool, though, the way they did it, because he makes the key and he uses it on his girlfriend, Jackie, who was turned into a demon by Dodge, which was Tyler's impetus for making a key in the first place. Mm-hmm. Was the whole thing. He uses it on Jackie and it does work. It turns her back into a human, but it also kills her.
Yeah, she has like an aneurysm or something and just dies.
Which was nice because like it kind of suggested that once people were turned, that was it. There was no get out of jail free key. It upped the stakes to which if Kinsey did accept and become a demon, Tyler couldn't just use the key to turn her back. That was a point of no return. It kept the stakes high there.
Which meant a bunch of more people were going to have to die. Yes. But only 2 of them of really any significance at all. And even those are still kind of background characters.
Yeah.
That being Detective Daniel Matuku, who is the police officer from the first season who's been turned into a demon. And then a character that's just basically a bully.
yeah, that character.
And then a bunch of like just straight up background characters that we don't even know the names of really.
Yeah. Well, the one character that was like a bully was killed by Eden. Like she slit his throat. Again, Eden, like the most worthless character in the season. Like the whole thing, like Kinsey finds out about Gabe being Dodge because freaking Eden pulls her into a room with her by themselves with the intention to kill her. And then because Eden drank so much alcohol, she just passes out murmuring about killing Kinsey, which sets off her alarm bells and inspires her to go inside of Eden's head. So Kinsey finds out in the stupidest way because Eden is a giant fuck up of a character. And again, why did Dodge have her around? Because all she does is fuck up and she doesn't help that much.
Yeah.
And Dodge doesn't seem to have like any real use for Eden.
It seems like Dodge, when Dodge is in the shape of Gabe, is somehow far less intimidating or intelligent.
Yeah, because like season 1 Dodge was like always like 3 steps ahead of like all the other characters, and now it's like Dodge is a lot more sloppy in this season. Anyway, the whole thing ends with they're trying to get the demon key from Dodge. You know, they're going to Dodge's like compound, like the home whatever
mansion of somebody that she turned into a demon, I guess.
Yeah, that he turned into a demon, and they're trying to take back the demon key. And also it's when they're being sworn by Dodge's demon friends that they find out Duncan can also control the demons because he forged the key.
Yeah.
Which is not something he even considered.
Which kind of seems to only work like half the time.
Yeah.
Like I tell them to stop, and then like a couple scenes later they're being chased by him again. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
The whole thing ends though with like Dodge choking Kinsey to death with the chain key, and then Tyler gets Dodge with the alpha key and kills Dodge, and in the process frees Lucas. And they explain the reason Lucas doesn't die is because Dodge was an echo, unlike the other demons.
In other words, Dodge isn't the original Dodge. Dodge died, and they brought Dodge back using the well key.
Yes.
Which makes an echo, and the echoes are like immortal, basically. They can't die.
Yeah, they can't die, yeah.
They can be disconnected from their demons, but they can't die. So now, in place of Dodge, we have Lucas.
Yes, we have Lucas. And then it ends with, like you said, there were flashbacks throughout the season, specifically the origins of the keys, which is basically Frederick Gideon, a British captain, discovered the portal in the caves to begin with. He unlocked it initially.
Well, there wasn't a lock at all. It was just completely open.
Well, he put his hand on it and it opened. It was a wall. It was the wall of the cave. It was stone. And he put his hand on the wall of stone and it opened up into the portal.
Yeah, but there wasn't like a lock in place or anything. There weren't any keys yet at this point.
There weren't any keys yet. So the whole thing about him is, obviously this was Revolutionary War times. He was the British captain. The locks were
family of blacksmiths
who were sympathizers to the revolutionaries, and Gideon stormed their home, pretty much threatened to rape and kill their women and steal their stuff. But the Locke's son managed to rally a group of revolutionaries and basically fight them off and drive. That's what drove Frederick Gideon and his men into the caves, because they were retreating. And there's another skirmish in the caves. One of Gideon's men becomes possessed by a demon. Gideon sees this and sees like how powerful he becomes after he gets hit by the bullet. But they manage to shoot the demon soldier back into the portal, and that's when Gideon gets up and stands in front of the portal and lets himself be turned into a demon. And then from there, they capture Gideon, they hang him, and he gets bound to the well, I guess.
No, so he's dead.
Okay.
And then the way the well works is that it can create an echo. It's the same way they brought Lucas
back.
That's
right. Okay, yeah. So so Eden creates an echo of Gideon. And then she uses the anywhere key and she beckons him to follow her, thinking Gideon's just going to like be her lackey. But Gideon just picks up Eden and throws her down in the well and kills her, presumably. And that's it.
Takes the anywhere key and leaves.
Yeah, takes the anywhere key and leaves. And so Gideon looks like he's going to be the big bad of season 3, which they already confirmed.
Being Kevin Durand, which means that we finally get to see what happened to Kimi after Ben killed him.
Yes, exactly. This is exactly what happened to Kimi.
Ben killed him, and then the time travel stuff happened with the well, and then Gideon ended up, in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, right. Which is interesting because now we're beyond comic material. So I was looking into it, and Lock and Key, the comic, ends with Tyler killing Dodge with the Alpha Key. That's it. There's no Frederick Gideon in the comic books. He does not exist.
Yeah. They make a big deal about him, at least Eden does, when she sees him, where she said,
she says,
I thought you'd just be some random demon. Didn't know it was going to be you.
Yeah, I didn't know it'd be you. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? As an audience, we don't know any demons except for Dodge. And
he is Beelzebub. He is Beelzebub.
I see. Okay, so we're meant to think that this is Satan, basically.
Well, I mean, I don't think these are necessarily like they're called demons, but they're almost more like just.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
But he's like, I guess he's like the king or a big cheese of
he's
the
probably,
demons.
Yeah, he's probably like a demon lord or something. I guess
he's Beelzebub Ross.
Because like they're obviously like that line of dialogue and stuff. They're obviously hyping him up, trying to say like this guy is more dangerous than Dodge ever was.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, he's a man completely out of time.
Yes. And also, like, as a man, as Frederick Gideon, like, he has like a beef with the locks.
Yeah.
So I just wonder.
He also has no clue about the keys except for the one key he has, the Anywhere key.
So I just, he has no clue about the keys except
somehow he's going to instinctively know about them, even though that's not even a thing.
I mean, you can say one magic key. Maybe there's more magic keys. I don't know.
Yeah, but he'd have no reason to know where the origin of those were or anything.
No.
Nothing
so
was explained.
I'm just wondering, like, how long it's going to, like, take for the plot to get motion in season 3. Like, how long are, like, the kids going to be like, yay, we killed all the evil, and, like, be completely oblivious to the existence of Frederick Gideon?
Well, Tyler's just going to be oblivious in general since he decided to use the memory key.
He left the show, yeah. I think that was Tyler's exit from the show.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another interesting twist, because presumably it's just going to be a Kinsey and Bode.
Yeah, and Bodhi. Kinsey and Bodhi. And Nina E. and Duncan E. and their ancestor Chamberlain E.
Yeah, Chamberlain, yeah. They also tease that Bodhi was going to use the memory key on Nina, so she'll remember now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like we can expect like any intelligence from getting the adults involved because nothing seemed to help with Duncan or any of the other defenders that from the first 2 seasons.
Right. I think expect more with the one guy there, Nina's new boyfriend, Josh. Because he's the big historian, right? So
if she opens up his memory so he can even remember the keys, or
so they would have to give him the memory key. He's a historian, and they also said he is a direct descendant of Frederick Gideon. So
I mean, the more interesting wild card I think is Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas is
because now he's back. He's immortal.
Yeah, he's back. He's
as
immortal.
An echo, and he knows basically the way the demons think because he's basically been in the head of a demon for years.
Yeah, for a long ass time. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, that's we say interesting, but I don't expect a lot. Here's my prediction. My prediction for season 3 is that by the time season 3 is coming up, I'll have forgotten again how stupid all of the characters are, and I'll be so hyped about the magic system again, and then I'll start the first episode and be like, oh, that's right, all the characters are fucking morons. That's my prediction.
Same.
But that's it for Lock and Key season 2, and that's it for our full spoiler segment. Before we finish up the show, there's one kind of thing, a sad thing to bring up, and that is the actor Dean Stockwell has just recently passed away.
Yeah, that sucks.
He was in Quantum Leap, and he was in Battlestar Galactica, the remake.
Yeah.
He's did a bunch of David Lynch movies and stuff, incling Blue Velvet and the 1984 Dune movie. He's a classic actor from a certain generation,
Yeah.
If you were around just nowadays, this current generation, you might not have seen him in much, but if you were, watching TV and movies in like the 80s and 90s and stuff, you saw a lot of them. So yeah, rest in peace. And that's it. Next week, we're going to be talking about Chongqi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, because that comes out very soon.
It comes out Disney Plus this Friday, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So by the time this podcast is out, it's probably already going to be out.
Nice.
So yeah, so we'll be talking about that next week in full spoilers, and whatever other things end up coming up, whatever other news stories or other stuff ends up happening, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that stuff too. So thank you everybody for listening. Leave us comments, good, bad, or indifferent. You can contact me. I'm at Tyson Gifford on Twitter. Will is at Voxel Hero. You can leave comments on our YouTube channel, on any of the videos for these podcast episodes. You could leave it on our SoundCloud page or on our main site, thetotalscreen.com. Any other way you can find to leave us a comment, go ahead and do that. Like I said, probably the best way is just to hit one of us up on Twitter. That we'll get notified and know that you actually mentioned us.
Yeah, there we go. That'd be nice.
So again, that's at Tyson Gifford and at Voxel Hero. But that's it. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.